I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Would you all please stand and join us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, great.
So we'll move on. We'll start the meeting with the approval. Oh, there he is. Good evening. All right, we'll start with item B2, approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of last meeting.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. All right, we'll move on to the agenda and consent agenda. Can I get a motion there?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second the motion.
And the agenda as well?
And the agenda.
Okay, this is a roll call.
Andy?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to C1. Is that pulled out for a reason?
No.
No? Okay. Move on to public interest reports presentations, and we'll come back to the student report if she shows up. I'm not sure if Marissa has a game tonight or not. So we'll go on to D2 recognitions. And Diana.
Thank you. So on behalf of the high school, Principal Corneo would like to recognize Miss Deborah Joseph, who's a CHS art teacher, and Sarah Rocklitzer, who's the second art teacher at the high school, for emphasizing the importance of fine arts at the high school. Together they have launched a new Arts Honor Society, as well as they are team teaching a new art class for 9th graders. At Rincon, on behalf of Principal Gloger, he'd like to recognize Veronica Nixon. She is the office manager for Rincon and Foothill High School. Not only does Veronica manage the office and coordinate all clerical duties for the school, but she works hard to create a positive school climate, and she ensures that every student, parent, and staff member is cared for, feels valued, and receives encouragement. On behalf of the middle school, Principal Shea would like to recognize Kelly Begier. She's a PE teacher for her excellent work in leading the PE department. At Canalino and Family School, Principal Pursoon would like to recognize Kate School for their volunteerism on the campus. In addition to sending over a dozen students on February 20th to assist the elementary students, Kate School also facilitates the girls' lacrosse for the after-school program. They also have printed and distributed sweatshirts to all the girls with the Carpinteria Flames logo. And finally, Kate School's music director, John Necht, has invited students to attend a free concert at Kate. So we're appreciative of the partnership. At Aliso, Principal Fox would like to recognize Melissa Trammell for her amazing contributions to the Aliso team. Melissa makes it a priority to connect to the classroom teachers to support students, and she's always searching for new and exciting learning adventures for the after-school program. And finally, at Summerlin, Principal Fox would like to recognize Danielle Eden, who teaches the kindergarten and first grade, and Shannon Colson, she's the second and third grade classroom teachers, for their continued work at finding ways to differentiate learning for their students. They work with their instructional assistants, Mallory and Seti, to implement Learning Lab to increase student achievement in reading and math.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll move right on to your report.
Okay, so I'll continue the recognitions and appreciation. Tonight, I'd like to recognize the high school science department. Mandy DeWitt is the chair, Patrick Chaplin, Audrey Rogan, Wes Farrell, as well as the computer teacher, Van Latham. They spent this past holiday weekend moving all their classrooms into the new science classrooms, the labs, and the computer lab. We also appreciate the students that assisted them. And I'd also like to recognize Barnaby Gloger, who's here tonight. He's going to be presenting. He's the Rincon principal as well as the pupil service administrator for his excellent leadership for our district safety committee. I have some great information about the spelling bee at the middle school. Congratulations to our middle school students, Conrad Stinson from grade 8, Devin Fagetti at grade 6, and Mika Mulliken from grade 7. They won our CMS spelling bee at the Masonic Lodge last week, and they will probably represent the middle school and the high school at the county spelling bee Thursday night. So they're probably practicing their words tonight.
Yeah, probably.
I also wanted to share some information about transition parent meetings. One of our goals is focused on increasing parent involvement. So for the incoming 6th grade parents, Principal O'Shea at the middle school is holding a meeting tomorrow night to introduce the middle school curriculum and programs that are available to all 6th graders. For the incoming 9th graders, those parents will meet with Principal Corneo and his staff Thursday night, and they'll discuss the high school course sequences, the curriculum, and opportunities for extracurricular activities. In addition, we have a number of incoming K parents who've been touring all the elementary campuses. Another interesting event that we've been participating in is professional development for administrators. Family Service Agency, Mental Wellness Center, and YouthWell, they are sponsoring an 8-hour training for school site administrators to assist students who are experiencing either mental health or substance use related crisis. And the CUSD administrators are learning risk factors and warning signs, bless you, for mental health and substance use concerns, strategies for how to help students in both crisis and non-crisis situations, and how to connect students to appropriate care. And then an additional item is we've been working with the Early Academic Outreach Program from UCSB, EAOP, and our counselor is Mrs. Catalina Navarro. Unfortunately, she is going to be leaving the high school at the end of this month because she's joining the staff at Santa Paula High School. The UCSB staff made that decision because our funding will expire at the end of this school year, and there is an opening currently in Santa Paula, and Catalina lives in Santa Paula, so UCSB did not want to wait to fill that position twice, so they've moved her to Santa Paula. She has been supporting our high school students with the college admission process for the past 2 years, and we are going to miss her as well as her support. However, Mr. Corneo has been working with the UCSB admissions, Santa Barbara Community College, as well as Cal Soap to replace some of those activities. In addition, UCSB will support us for the spring activities that are normally promoted by Mrs. Navarro. So we'll have the Average College Tour, we'll have the college fair, the financial aid workshops, the SAT practice test and review, as well as UC Success Night. Another item that's exciting for our teachers at Canalino is regarding professional learning. 6 of the Canalino K, 1st, and 2nd grade DLI teachers, they'll be attending the CABE conference in Long Beach. And that's the California Association for Bilingual Education, which is a nonprofit organization. It was incorporated in 1976 to promote bilingual education and quality educational experiences for all students in California. CABE has chapters, members, and affiliates, along with partnerships with other state and national advocacy organizations that work to promote equity and student achievement for students with diverse cultural, racial, and linguistic backgrounds. And the vision of CABE is biliteracy, educational equity, and 21st century success for all. And to support that, they implement priorities, initiatives, and services targeted to teachers, administrators, parents, and others designed to increase California's capacity to create culturally diverse and competent 21st century learning environments of high academic and intellectual performance for all English learners and language learners. And so our teachers will be participating in their conference and workshops in the next month. And the last item is related to Measure U. So we all know that students at CHS have now moved into the new Gen 7 classrooms, and they are thrilled with the new classrooms and especially the new science labs. And the other exciting news is all of the portables at CMS have been removed. So for the first time since 1960, CMS is portable free.
Excellent.
Yay.
Exciting, yes.
Yes.
So now the Measure U team is working with contractors on planning for the modernization of the remaining classrooms at Catalina and the high school. And we're also soliciting bids for the modernization of classrooms at Aliso. And we're hoping to begin this construction for summer of 2019. So the high school and Aliso and Catalina campuses will not be available for summer programs this summer. So we'll hold special ed summer school at Summerlin for the first time in summer, as well as the middle school also have programs, summer programs. And then the Measure U team continues to work on the coastal development permits for Main School and Summerland. And this Friday, the Measure U team will be going to the ARB board at the county office Friday morning for the Summerlin plans.
All right.
Ready? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item D4. It's a CHP safety compliance report by our transportation supervisor, Michael Littlejohn. Welcome.
Well, thank you. It'll be extremely brief. In accordance with California Code of Regulations, Chapter 13, Section 1233, the bus terminal has passed its annual bus rating with a satisfactory. Once again. So,
Great.
that's it.
Thank you.
Short and sweet.
Well done.
That's good news.
No news is good news. Okay, we'll move on to item D5, presentation by Principal Gloger on Rincon and Foothill High Schools. Welcome.
Thank you. All right. This is working. Okay, good, perfect. All right. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Rigby, District Administration, the audience, and everybody tuning in on YouTube or at home or something like that. Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I want to I'll be brief. I just want to give a quick report on Rincon and Foothill High Schools this time, and then say a few things about safety after that. But can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. All right. My name is Barnaby Gloger, and I am the principal of Rincon and Foothill High Schools in the Carpinteria Unified School District, as well as Pupil Services Administrator. We are Rincon and Foothill High Schools. We are the alternative high schools in the Carpinteria Unified School District. Many people do not realize that there are actually 3 high schools in CUSD. Do you all know that? 3 high schools? Yeah, that's true. Carpinteria High School, Rincon High School, and Foothill High School. All 3 high schools, students can receive a high school diploma from all 3 high schools. Students can complete coursework towards their 240 credits from all 3 different high schools. So back to Rincon and Foothill. Students typically transfer to alternative high schools because they are behind in credit or for a variety of reasons, and they benefit from the small class sizes, individualized attention, personalized learning program, and flexibility that alternative high schools can offer. Helps them catch up with their credits and either stay at Rincon or Foothill High School to graduate or transfer back to Carpinteria High School. It should also be noted that through the years, many CHS graduates enrolled at Rincon High School for 1 semester or more until they caught up on their credits and then returned to Carp High to graduate. That's the case for several students this semester. Our numbers, Rincon High School. So the minimum age to enroll in an alternative high school per ed code is 16 years old. So being 16 to 18 years old, our students are typically 11th and 12th grade students. They can choose to transfer to Rincon High School. It's a choice. You can transfer to an alternative high school at any time during a semester. However, you can only transfer back to a comprehensive high school at the beginnings of semesters. As a result, our population is kind of always in flux. One week we may have 30 students, another week we may have 32. But at this point we have 29 students. We usually average around 30. 15 of our students are 11th grade students. 14 are 12th grade students. 16 are male students. 13 are female students. 86% of our students are considered Latino or Hispanic students. The remainder are either white, non-Hispanic, or did not state that on their enrollment forms. 9 students, about 1/3 of the Rincon High School students, have IEPs, which is significantly higher proportionally than other schools in the district and other districts. As far as assessments go and where our students are scoring, in general, when we've administered the Edmentum AccuSess assessments, it's a wide range. And so students score from all the way up to 11th and 12th grade levels in reading, language arts, and math, down to 2nd grade levels for some situations. On average, students average in the 6th or 7th grade levels for the reading, language arts, and math on that one assessment. Many people may have heard of Foothill High School but not know a lot about it. Foothill High School is our independent study program. It's an alternative high school, and it's designed for students who are not able to attend school every day for a variety of reasons. Students attending that at Foothill High School do a lot of their work through the Edmentum Plato courseware, so they're completing online classes, and they also meet every Wednesday afternoon on our campus. They share the Rincon campus at Foothill. Currently, we have 5 students enrolled at Foothill. In the past, this number has been as high as 15. Due to the small number of students, I will not be sharing any demographic data. Alternative education. I just want to talk briefly about different ways of finding success. This is Franklin Trail in the picture. If you haven't hiked it, run it, or ridden it, do that. It's fun. It's hard. But what you find is there's one main path on the way up, legally, on the way up to the top of the mountain. But what you find is that people make it to the top. They make it to the top of the mountain in a lot of different ways. Some go by themselves. Some go with others. Some ride a mountain bike. Some walk. Some run. Some through working for the electrical companies take a helicopter. So there's a lot of different ways to the mountaintop. And I use that as an analogy with alternative education. Sometimes we get stuck in our thinking that there's only one way down a road or only one way to the top of a mountain. We find out that there are multiple ways to find success. And our alternative high schools provide that for our students. And so it provides an alternate path, an alternate way for these students to meet their goals and to find success. And the beautiful part about it all is that our students find success. Our students graduate from high school, they have a high school diploma, they get a great education, they get jobs, they go to college, they do all the things. And because we offer these different alternatives and we have this flexibility and this personalized program, if we didn't have that, for some students, they may not be able to find that success. They might not make it to the top of the mountain. So it's so important that we offer these alternative programs. Sorry, got off my mountaintop experience there. What does an education at Rincon High School look like? So at Rincon High School, students attend school 5 days a week. They are in school from 9 a.m. to 1:36 p.m. The day is divided into 6 42-minute periods with a nutrition break in between and lunch at the end of the day. A typical day for a Rincon student. So Rincon students arrive to school, eat breakfast. They go to their first period class, which is literacy, and then with either Mr. Reed or Mr. Dayhill. Then they go to their next class. Let's say they're in the 11th grade track. So they go to math class with Mr. Reed, second period. Then English, third period with Mr. Dayhill. Then it's our nutrition break for 15 minutes. They get to hang out with me. And then fourth period, they head off to fourth period with science with Mr. Reed. And then fifth period, U.S. history or economics, depending if it's juniors or seniors. And then sixth period, they go to their elective class. Right now, our electives are art or crafts and gardening. In the past, we've done entrepreneurship or a lot of different electives and try to be creative and offer at that time as many hands-on opportunities as possible with project-based learning. All right. So Our teachers, so these are the magicians of the school. Our teachers are creative, flexible, and offer a variety of activities for the wide range of academic levels, abilities, and interests. So based on those assessments results I reviewed earlier, there is a wide range of ability for our students in every class and every student. So teachers have to differentiate instruction. They're constantly doing that. With just 2 class horts, 11th and 12th grade classes, student skills and abilities range greatly. In one class, a teacher and the instructional aide are teaching and supporting some students who are on or near grade level, while others are far below grade level. Students receive support in their classes from our instructional aides. We do have a special education teacher from Carpenter High School that comes up each day for about a period that can provide support for students. And students can also receive a lot of support from our academic counselor at Rincon. Support is always available, and staff are constantly helping students one-on-one or in small groups. We get to some fun stuff here. So this year we are really excited to let you know that all students at Rincon High School are assigned their own Chromebook while they are at Rincon High School, so we have one-to-one going on. This allows students to access and utilize Google Classroom, Edmentum's Plato courseware and AccuSess assessments, and a variety of online resources and teaching tools. The Chromebooks allow our students to access their education in a way that can best prepare them for their college and career. And I just want to say thank you to the board for supporting us in purchasing Chromebooks, and also to CEF. I think I saw Pam here. Thank you for helping us purchase those Chromebooks, because it's so awesome to just say, you know, go get your Chromebook rather than we've got 5 and we all have to share them. It helps so much. So my favorite part, I'm biased because I love being outside and sports, but one of my favorite things that we've done this year is introducing a really varied PE program or physical education program to our students, and offering that to students twice a week. So twice a week we do all kinds of things you can see in the picture here. So we want our kids to be active, we want our kids to be healthy, and we want them to get to know the community and the area around them. So through partnering with City of Carpinteria, we have given students the opportunity to learn to kayak and do stand-up paddleboarding, as well as swimming at our Carpinteria pool. So all the time they're learning about the ocean and rich outdoor education that is at their doorstep. In partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, we have created basketball, soccer, and flag football teams that compete against neighboring alternative high schools through intramural competitions. In fact, just Thursday, I took a group of students down to Ventura to play basketball, 3-on-3 basketball against Pacific High School, which is the alternative high school in Ventura Unified School District. And if it wasn't for the rain that surprised us last week, we could have had good results to tell you about. But it was a great experience, great basketball, and good to get the students together and be active. Students have also participated in activities like hiking, yoga, bowling, and CrossFit. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank Veronica Nixon, who's our office manager, who is the energy behind so many of these great activities and has the great ideas to make them all happen. And when I'm loaded up with paperwork and things like that, she is the one saying, "Come on, Barnaby, we've got to go do this, we've got to go do that" with the students, and the students love it. And so, thank you, Veronica. So we have worked very hard to provide a lot of support for our students. It's not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom as well. As you can see from the slide, these are just some of the organizations that we're partnering with that are helping us provide support for our students and opportunities. So in order to educate the whole student and meet their social, emotional needs, college and career goals, and help them grow as a person while enrolled at Rincon, we partner with a number of agencies that provide staff that will work with students providing therapy, job coaching, college counseling, emotional intelligence, healthy living groups, paid work experience, among other opportunities. One wonderful example of this is the Grandparent Project. And so that's something we started last year. So we've entered our second year of the Grandparent Project. And with your support and our partnership with Grand Vita Retirement Community, each week Rincon students meet with older adults at Grand Vita to hear their stories, ask them questions, learn about their living histories, and then they collect all this information and write it down and create visual and written forms for them to share this information. They receive English and history credit for this as well. Other examples, students participate in psychoeducational groups led by facilitators from CAC, or Community Action Commission, AHA, and Girls Inc. AHA was with us last semester and will be starting up next week to do their second semester, and we're looking forward to that. Representatives from ILRC, Independent Living Resource Center, DOR, there's a lot of acronyms here, sorry, Department of Rehabilitation. Partners in Education and PathPoint meet individually and in small groups with students on job preparation, job coaching, and career counseling. Through these opportunities, students have participated in mock interviews, resume writing workshops, and job prep that have led to students interviewing for and securing paid jobs in our community. In partnership with FSA, Family Service Agency, we have a full-time therapist on our campus this year that meets individually with students as well as works with small groups. We also have a therapist through FSA that provides intensive individual counseling to students with IEPs. As a result of all these important interventions and student supports, the biggest problem that we run into is not having enough office space. Because when you have all these great people coming to work with our students, sometimes that's what we run out of. And so it's a great problem to have. It's not having enough space for these professionals to meet with our students. So come by any day and you will see every office and space being utilized to run groups, meet with students individually, all while our academic classes are occurring. Our campus is active, it is alive, and students' needs are being met every day thanks to all the support we receive from our partner organizations. So just to close, whether it's competing in events at our very own Spirit Week, student created and led by the way, kayaking in the Pacific Ocean, or testing their limits and abilities at UCSB's Adventure Programs Ropes course, bottom right corner there, Rincon and Foothill students have found success and are always learning and challenging themselves to be the best they can be. Thank you for supporting our staff and our amazing students as they grow and learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'm curious. I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
Are the students still taking part in that entrepreneurship where they were doing T-shirts for different groups in town?
Yeah, so we did the entrepreneurship elective in the fall. So we'll offer that every fall, and so that includes the silk screening where they make T-shirts, and as well as a few different activities, hands-on activities. So that's still going on. Kind of comes in waves as the demand is there for T-shirts. And we made our own T-shirts for Rincon High School last spring, and they were worn with pride.
That's great.
Yeah,
Are there any students that are kind of taking ownership of that? And
with the silk screening?
Well, just with that kind of concept.
At this time, no. But if you have any jobs out there, or if anybody does, and they're looking for T-shirts to be made, let us know, and we'll. I'm sure that when the demand is there, the interest will be there. Yeah.
All right.
Barnaby, would you like to share the project about the construction on the picnic tables?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So there's so many things going on; it's hard to keep it all straight. So what we find too is students who we want them to be successful, and they can be very successful learning the math and the understanding of how to build. And so being out of the classroom, we like to give that opportunity. So we've done this in the past, and we started it again, was purchasing wood for this time Douglas fir. I think last time it was redwood, to build picnic benches. And so students have already finished their first bench, and they'll be putting together ways of advertising that for selling those picnic tables. And they're solid wood picnic tables, and a couple of them are from past years are still at Rincon High School. I know some have been sold in the past. The Masons Lodge helped us with our last time that we had the redwood for that, so it's been a big success. And the students find a lot of pride in building those and sharing those with the community. It's really cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for all the good work that you're doing. I think that Rincon really embodies the one of our key points, which is continuous improvement. It's a very innovative and dynamic program, and in my experience, it's almost different moment to moment. And I think it's a reflection of the attempt to keep meeting the needs of the students, and that's amazing.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for noticing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
have a comment, Barnaby?
Yes.
First of all, took you like 10 minutes or so, maybe 15, to describe actually 3 high schools. And well done. For a second, I thought they were describing like high school with 1,000 students or so. I mean, you have basketball, you have softball, you have special ed assistants, a therapist. You have basically your goal is for the students to get to the top of the mountain, and that's actually that's a dream that every student should have, get to the top of the mountain, and that about a mountain being getting a high school diploma and get a job and get them ready for life. And you mentioned that there's 29 students and that 84% of them are Hispanics, and I appreciate all of what you have done, and that I get all my gratitude, and your students as well, and just want to tell you, all of you, good job and keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll definitely pass on all those good jobs to the staff at Rincon High School, because they're the ones that deserve it and are doing it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Barnaby.
Thank you, Barney.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice job,
Well, you don't need to sit down.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay, we'll move on to your next presentation on our comprehensive safety plan, site safety plans.
Good evening, board members. I'm just kidding. Thanks for having me back. So I'm going to put on my my pupil services administrator hat right now, and then part of that position is being safety officer for the school district. So California Education Code 32280 states that it is the intent of the legislator that all California public schools in kindergarten and grades 1 to 12, inclusive, operated by school districts in cooperation with local law enforcement agencies, community leaders, parents, pupils, teachers, administrators, classified employees, and other persons who may be interested in the prevention of campus crime and violence, develop a comprehensive school safety plan that addresses the safety concerns identified through a systematic planning process. It is also the intent of the legislator that all school staff be trained on the comprehensive school safety plan. So every school year, we are tasked with the requirement of updating our school safety plans and presenting them to you for your approval by March 1st. And I offer these plans for each of our school sites to you. We have followed the guidelines in California Education Codes 32282 and 32288, outlining the development of these plans, and the compliance checklist outlined in California Education Codes 32282, 32282.1, and 32284. These education codes show us specifically what should be included in the school safety plans. And so what you'll notice in those plans is they are nearly identical, because the checklist is the same for every school. So there's a different comprehensive safety plan for every school. 95% of it is identical. What will be different is the campus maps and the evacuation routes, the evacuation locations, and the names of the people assigned to different duties in the event of an emergency. Other than that, the policies and procedures are nearly identical. Should be noted as well that we have updated the safety plans to be consistent with the Hour Zero safety policies, and so every classroom and office in our school district has that safety packet hanging and has guidelines for what to do in case of a lockdown or an evacuation, and that's reflected in each safety plan. What you will also need to know is that these plans are constantly being updated and revised. They're living documents because what we know next week may be different than what we know today. And so we are constantly updating our plans. We are sharing them with law enforcement and fire, getting feedback, updating them even more. And so we will continue to do that so that this document shows that we are in the best, as best prepared as we can be in the event of an emergency or to prevent things from becoming an emergency.
Great.
Any questions on the?
I'd like to,
plans?
I guess, get a motion to approve these, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
I move to approve all the plans from the schools.
I'll
Safety
second
plans.
it.
All right. Any discussion?
Well, I was just going to say I was working for the district at the time Columbine happened, and we were pretty much on our own. And so to read through all of these plans and see the details, and unfortunately the circumstances that make you have to write all these in such details is really pretty amazing. It's come a long way in the last 20 years. Thank you all. Yeah. And I commend the principals and the assistant principals for all their work on these plans.
Well, and the safety committees too. I think that Hour Zero program really helped us kind of congeal all these plans so they were consistent and we weren't having different procedures and protocols from site to site.
Yep.
I think it also helps that at every school campus they have a safety committee that also informs the district safety committee, of which Barnaby leads, and meets on a regular basis. And it involves our safety personnel in the city, representatives from the sheriff's department, representatives from the city, and it really helps us to continually improve our efforts in making sure that everyone on our campus is safe.
All right. Any questions?
Just a comment. Safety is one of the things I hear most about from folks, and it's such a relief from my point of view to have these on file. Is the public allowed, or not the public, but are parents allowed to look at these or review them?
Yeah, hard copies are available in every school office.
Do they have to be a
come
parent with a student in the school, though, right?
They
like
are
if
available.
If a parent
in the
had a
office.
concern, I could say, well, have you looked at your school safety plan? That kind of thing.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Riley, you got any questions, comments?
Yes. What this is coming to my mind as I'm taking a look at these reports. What do you think that that you left out? That's something that should be here. It's not a policy or an improvement of any kind. And okay, probably about 2 years ago or so, there was a break-in at the Canalino cafeteria. Yeah. So that was in 2017. I talked to Jimmy Persoon, and I asked her, well, what about any surveillance cameras, security cameras? That was early 2017. And she told me, well, that's what we're planning. And break-ins kept coming, middle school. I mean, and that's a question that I have. If we have those security cameras at every school site, are they working properly? Are they placed correctly where they're supposed to be? Or because this is my point. We all watch TV, and a lot of things that happen are solved because there's a security camera nearby, or that school or that building has one in place or two. And I understand that there's been some serious break-ins at our school sites. And it's not only that property that's been taken, it's the safety issue itself, where if someone is able to break in, nowadays, who knows what's on their mind. Anything can happen. Like with them, actually, anything goes. And something could happen to a teacher, to a student. You know what I'm getting at? It's
Yeah, and
that safety issue.
I'd like to respond.
I can help you out. So,
Okay.
First of all, the break-ins that have occurred have been on the weekends at night, and they've been property only. The second is that all the modernization plans for the campuses have included security cameras. So in Measure U, when all the campuses are modernized, that will include security cameras.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is that actually we're at least 2 years late on this. 2 years late in installing security cameras. I have actually at my home. I mean, I have two of them. One in the front and one in the back, and that covers actually the whole street in the front, and another one in the back. And it's just in case. Just in case.
I don't think we can go put Arlos everywhere. So I think it's probably best that we include them in a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I mean,
the
or
entire site.
actually,
when we modernize the entire site, so
yes,
they're incorporated
correct.
into the
or
design
through
and stuff of the
Cox
site.
Communications. They offer a package where you get, you get one free, and that you know what this is what I'm getting at. It's not, you mentioned, well, that they took property only.
Roger.
But what if something else happens? And you mentioned, well, it happened at night, during the weekend or so. All right, so I see that as a big safety problem. That's how I see it, and believe me. And nowadays, anything can happen. So that should be a priority on the Measure U process. That's the way I think.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving these plans as presented, say aye.
So
Aye.
just to clarify, because I didn't hear that. So we're approving all of these
Yes.
in one lump.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Barnaby.
Good night. I won't come back this time.
Okay, we'll move. Do we have public comment, Monica?
Yes, we do have a few.
Okay.
We're going to start with Jamie Diamond, and Wendy Bingham has ceded the minutes, also her time to her, so she'll have 6 minutes.
Good evening, board. Good evening, board. It has come to my attention just a little over an hour and a half ago that Maureen has been talking to media and telling them that my comments last meeting and the things that have been in the Coastal View are some type of cannabis conspiracy. And let me just stop you right there. I have absolutely zero to do with cannabis. I don't use it. I've never endorsed it. and it's beyond insulting you would reduce a parent's concern to a nutty conspiracy. And wow, what a segue to my original opening statement. How are you wielding the power of your tongue? It has potential for both great good and for much harm. A lot has happened since the last meeting of the board. The last time I spoke, I was unaware of the others present and watching who felt so similarly and passionately as I did. I was unaware the Coastal View News was covering it and unaware of the other letters to the editor submitted. A small group of moms reached out to me afterwards, and we spoke of our mutual concerns. Out of that grew what we felt is the best solution: make our community aware of the discord and problems among our CUSD board. I was shocked when how many people only needed to watch a few short minutes of previous board meetings to come to the same conclusions as us. I'm so glad our community has woken up and is paying attention to the issues facing our district and our kids. I want to be very clear. This is not a personal issue between me and you, Maureen. This is about the job you were elected to do. I voted for you, and you alone on my ticket, because I believed that even though you didn't know everything about being a board member yet, you had a good vision for what you wanted to accomplish and would be a quick learn. You weren't tied or beholden to any one party of the district. Children first was your priority. Finding creative funding opportunities and working together, being an example for your daughter. I believe that you meant all of that, but somewhere along the line, I feel you got lost. Maybe you got directions from the wrong person or used the wrong map. Today, someone I know and respect, who is a good friend of yours, reached out to me and insinuated that I was somehow being used in all of this going on here. Despite being insulted that I was so feeble-minded, all I did was thank him for his concern. I can assure you, I am a grown woman and I can make my own grown woman decisions. I am being used by no one, and his comments make so much more sense now that I was made aware of your comments to the media. Back to my beginning statement. How are you wielding the power of your tongue for the district, Maureen? I'm going to read the standards for an effective trustee from the CSBA Leadership Handbook and then state what I've seen from you, and hopefully you'll see what many of us here are seeing. Keeps learning and achievement for all students as the primary goal. I've seen you chastising and belittling the superintendent over test scores, and even after explanations and step forward are already being taken for upcoming years. Recognizes and respects differences of perspective and style on the board and among staff, students, parents, and community. I've seen you cutting off members while speaking, talking down to other board members, calling them dictators and sexist, insulting current board members and potential community members who would want to run by calling them low caliber while referring to yourself as high caliber. Acts with dignity and understands the implications of demeanor and behavior. I've frequently, when questioning an agenda item or Measure U item, you become confrontational and accusatory, insinuating some type of wrongdoing at every turn. Understands the distinctions between board and staff roles and refrains from performing management functions that are the responsibility of the superintendent and staff. Frequently, you ask the staff for information which you already have access, adding to their workload and micromanaging their tasks. For example, telling the staff they need to create a report on someone's time card so you can go through it. That's not your job. It's not your job or authority to order the staff to do so. Govern in a dignified and professional manner, treating everyone with civility and respect. I believe all my comments above, paired with the videos of your behavior in previous meetings, including the budget study session, show your inability to conduct yourself in such a manner. Maureen, as adults and professionals, we pride ourselves on being right and knowing best. I have learned the best professionals can admit when they are wrong and do what they can to make it right. Here's your chance to make it right.
Thank you.
Next, we have Holly Minier, and Nikki Yamaoka has ceded the minutes to her as well.
Good evening, Superintendent Rigby and CUSD trustees. My name is Holly Minier. I'm a resident of Carpinteria. I'm a property taxpayer. I'm a parent of a student in the district, and I'm also an active member of 2 district parent groups. I'm speaking this evening to address a comment I read in the Coastal View News, February 21st, 2019 edition. This comment was in response to a petition recently started requesting Trustee Claffey to resign as trustee. Trustee Claffey was quoted in this article as saying the petition, quote, is a distraction from the real issues at hand, ongoing financial issues, and more importantly, the 15-point drop in student achievement. I agree with Trustee Claffey. the priorities of trustees should be on reducing the district's deficit spending and on improving student achievement. This comment about distractions led me to think about how many distractions from those priorities Ms. Claffey mentioned I've witnessed or I've watched during Board of Trustees meetings just this calendar year. So I'm going to name some. These distractions include Trustee Claffey calling a local news organization, KEYT. I was in the audience at that board meeting, and KEYT came in, and we questioned them why they were here. They said they were called by Trustee Claffey to attend the board meeting, and my understanding was that it was in hopes that KEYT would cover a donation to Carpinteria High School, I believe it was AVID, with which Ms. Claffey was not in agreement with, because one of the Carpinteria Rotary Clubs, the money came through Carp Growers, which is a group of cannabis growers here in Carpinteria. Another distraction occurred during the last board meeting, which was February 12th, 2019. This distraction, similar to the distraction I just discussed, involved who exactly donated to Carpinteria Education Foundation through Carpa Cabana. This question seemed to be related, again, to Trustee Claffey's perseveration on cannabis donations, despite being informed by district staff that it's not against California Ed Code and it's not against board bylaws to accept donations from cannabis growers. The truth is, as many of us have been to Carpa Cabana, CEF takes money from anyone. When you walk in the door to buy a ticket for Carpa Cabana, or when you walk in ahead of time to secure a ticket, they don't ask you, where do you work? Where do you get your money? They take the donation gratefully. I'm unsure how the source of CEF donations, or even the Rotary Club donations, impact student achievement, except perhaps in a positive way. I'm sure donations help offset the reduction of deficit spending. Thus, these donations appear to actually be aligned to Trustee Claffey's stated priorities. Another distraction during the last board meeting, February 12th, involved Trustee Claffey discussing her father's unhappiness or dismay at not having a larger impact on the Measure U Bond Oversight Committee. This was during Mrs. Carty's presentation. While I'm appreciative of Mr. Foley's willingness to serve as a volunteer, the role on this committee is clearly stated in California Ed Code and does not include input into how Measure U funds are spent. Instead, its role is to inform the public on how the Measure U's are being spent, to review the expenditure reports. And by the way, I found all of this on the application to become part of that committee. So when you fill out the application, it's clearly stated what the role is on this bond oversight committee. You review the expenditures produced by the district to ensure that the Measure U proceeds are being spent appropriately. And then you make a presentation to the board in a public session, like Mrs. Carty did at the last board meeting, and you outline the activities and conclusions regarding the expenditure of Measure U bond proceeds. Additional distractions occurred during a board budget study session held on January 29th, wherein Trustee Claffey referred to herself as being a higher caliber of candidate because she ran in a contested election, whereas the three recently sworn-in candidates, President Schaefer, Clerk Green, Trustee Bray, they ran in an uncontested election. And thus, they were of lower caliber. There were many other distractions during this budget study session, including Trustee Claffey accusing staff of prioritizing one board member's comments over another, taking notes of one board member and not another. And there was even a discussion about buying a dress on an unlimited budget, which is not the situation of school districts. School districts do not have unlimited budgets, unlike maybe someone with a dress budget. Trustee Claffey, these distractions I'm addressing appear to be your personal agenda items and not in line with the priorities that you stated in the Coastal View News article. student achievement, and improving the district's financial challenges. I encourage you to put student achievement first and move away from your seemingly personal priorities that involve your disagreement with cultivation of cannabis. Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I know there's a time and place to disagree with cannabis cultivation, and it's not as a CUSD trustee. I ask that you please show us your priorities instead of the distractions of increasing student achievement and improving the budget through your actions as a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Janet Petin, and we have two citizens who have donated their time, Mr. Ron Vieira and Lisa Willis. They haven't ceded the minutes to her, so she'll have 9 minutes.
Good evening, Board. We have copies that we're passing around. For the record, I don't know Maureen. I don't know Rogelio. I've not been an involved parent for a few years because I've got one who's going to be a senior next year, so I've kind of taken the back seat and letting the younger parents come in and be a voice for the community. I've become aware of some really fundamental flaws going on here, and I cannot sit anymore and be watching the school board meetings has become grueling. Horrible, awful, awful, horrible. And I'm going to just read to you my opinions, and then I'm going to read something else. One has only to watch the CUSD meetings to ascertain that two board members are lacking considerable knowledge and ability to understand general procedures, functions, and policies of the board. They continually interfere with superfluous minutia, unwanted, wasting an exorbitant amount of time with off-topic items, hyperbole, monologuing, it goes on. These ongoings continue to disrupt and interfere with no positive outcome, no legitimate suggestion brought to the board, or positive solution. Wasted time. The board's purpose being to seek to secure school finances and to provide for the needs of the students. In my opinion, Ms. Maureen Foley-Claffey and Mr. Rogelio Delgado's show an inability to work as a cohesive body. Their continual disruptions with the work at hand due to their lack of understanding, causing other members to have to repeatedly try and explain procedures, is but one example. As a parent, I question these two board members' qualifications, and it appears that, and I'm going to give you some slack on this, it appears that the members of these two board members' qualifications are definitely not to par, not with your peers, not with the public perception, not with what our expectations ever were. And it's been going on for 2 years too long. And although your intent and ideals may have virtue, that's the slack I'm giving you. They fail to see how you fail to see how your actions are detrimental and do not align with the purpose of the board. I would ask parents to become familiar with the ongoing issues, raise your voice, and email your concerns. You've wasted enough time. Now put our kids first. That was my own personal opinion. Now I'll be reading on behalf of some concerned parents. This is a petition. Carpenter Unified School District trustee Maureen Claffey needs to resign from her position on the CUSD Board of Trustees. For the last 2 years, the CUSD Board has battled dysfunctionally due to trustee Claffey's behavior and comments on and off the dais. She continually makes false accusations, inaccurate statements, and pushes a personal agenda. She has created a hostile environment in her interactions with fellow members, CUSD staff, consultants, supporters, and stakeholders. CUSD staff, advisors, and consultants have patiently addressed her concerns, questions, and demands. Fellow governance team members have tried to reason with her, clarify, honor their commitment to the children and families of CDSD. Their efforts have been consistently met with aggression and attacks on their character. After hiring the new superintendent and the addition of 2 new trustees, Trustee Claffey continues to espouse the same tone of hostility toward her fellow trustees in CUSD meetings into cringeworthy spectacles. You can follow the link that I've provided here, or that has been provided, not by me necessarily. Watch the video. You can go to CUSD and watch all the videos of the board meetings. See for yourself, parents, and anybody who's listening or watching tonight. We can no longer be silent. Now is the time for our community to speak up. Trustee Claffey's inability to honor her role as the scope of her elected position needs to be addressed by the general public she claims to represent. If we allow her antics to continue, we are certain there will be no negative repercussions for CUSD in the short and long term. There will be negative repercussions, including staff resignations, loss of donors, supporters, derailment of Measure U and the facility master plan, budget and fiscal issues, and legal liability stemming from all the above. We urge you to support a dramatic change. Please join the Facebook group, Save CUSD, and sign our petition asking for Trustee Claffey's resignation from the CUSD Board of Trustees. We have a few hundred comments, which I can't get to all, and I don't know how much time I have, so I'm going to just pick and choose. Ms. Claffey doesn't represent the majority of her constituents. She continuously argues and attacks the people she should be working with in order to achieve the board's main objective, to better our schools for the benefit of the employees and our children. What kind of person asks for benefits when we have to cut $800,000? These are just random comments from concerned people. While I believe Maureen went into this role with the best of intentions, I do feel she has lost sight of what they were and is wasting the time of fellow board members and the community. This is important for so many reasons, many having already been stated in comments above. One reason I have is because high school students are normally at the board meetings, and Maureen sent a terrible example of how to work professionally. She's argumentative and incoherent. And why do more board members ask for health insurance through the school district? When teachers and aides who work less than 6 hours don't get any benefits, the board should be honored to help our school board not take advantage of it. You are all volunteers. The board really needs to stand with teachers and others, give our teachers what they deserve and deserve as well as aides. Okay, these are just comments from other people. I don't know. I haven't reread these, so some of them may be on topic and some of them may be a little off. Sounds like she needs a wake-up call. Important to have members who maintain the quality of life and education of the children. Kids need role models of positivity and cooperation, not arguing with like-minded people because she is unhappy. I won't go on. She's put her personal demands before our children. Cutting more things from our schools to get health benefits is absurd. We need common sense government. It's okay to have different opinions and a healthy debate. That is democracy, but every CUSD board meeting feels like a bad reality TV show, and it has to stop. School board meetings have become toxic. One board member openly suspects all other decision makers of malice. It's paranoid and has no place in public discourse. The step of identity, the problem through petition, is a necessary, if uncomfortable, step towards change and regaining productive and functional leadership. Our children learn better. I could go on and on and on. And unless anybody wants me to stop, I will. But I think I'm going to just read one more and then let everybody make their own decisions based on information that is readily available to everyone here. To my mind, Maureen is unfit and does not represent our values, beliefs, or priorities. This is one of the last comments I'm going to be reading. On the petition. She has been a poor steward of the responsibility she was entrusted with and should be recalled. When you watch our local school board meetings, Maureen's contempt for our district is clear. She casts aspersions on hardworking volunteers and district staff. She disparages community members and the work they do to make this town better. She insinuates corruption and fiscal irresponsibility at every turn with the half-baked notions of a conspiracy theorist. I could end there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one more, Jacqueline Fabre.
Thank you, Superintendent Rigby, trustees. You've heard quite a bit about the petition, online petition. Just want to give you a little bit of information about that. Save CUSD, which is the name of the Facebook group and sort of the organically assembled group, was an idea that came from a gathering of a few CUSD moms. We're just all moms here. There's been a lot of talk about the cannabis industry, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's concerned parents. The Save USD online petition that was just read to you was launched with inputs and thoughts from parents and community members. We know that while the petition, the signatures collected, the comments have no legal bearing on the desired outcome, it is a very clear message from the community to Trustee Claffey. Every signature collected means our collective voice grows stronger and will serve to hold Trustee Claffey accountable. And there are three main goals to the petition. One, and the most forefront, is to encourage Trustee Claffey to resign from CUSD board so that the governance team and staff can focus on students and their education. The second goal is that to hold Trustee Claffey accountable to the public for her comments and behavior. As long as she is a CUSD trustee, she should represent CUSD's best interests and speak and conduct herself with the dignity and the respect that the seat deserves. And finally, the petition will continue for as long as Trustee Claffey remains a representative of CUSD, and it is to serve as an impediment of any of Trustee Claffey's effort to run for re-election. As of now, we have 163 signatures online. We've shared that with you. It's a 10-page document full of signatures and comments. Every name, we chose not to share the names, but every name represents somebody in our community. Many of the names are familiar to us in this room. We hope that Trustee Claffey will review the comments shared via the petition and that Trustee Claffey respect and honor the views, concerns, and appeal from our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item E, board policies. Only one tonight is Board Bylaw 9250, remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits, second reading. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits bylaw.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Rogelio?
No, I approve it.
You approve it? Okay. Thank you. Okay, move on to item G, business operations facilities and warrants. Being asked to approve the warrants the period of February 8th through the 20th in the amount of $337,924.34.
I move to approve the warrant.
You
second it?
I second it, but
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know, but somehow I couldn't find the any Ernest Cayef's check number. I don't know if couldn't find it. And
What is it that you're looking for?
Ernest Cayef's check number.
Who?
Ernest Cayes, the inspector.
That was the last meeting, wasn't it?
But it should be on. It should be here, right? It should be listed. That's.
Are you saying it's not on here?
Correct.
Yeah, it missed the warrant run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was wondering
Yeah.
about something like that happening. It's okay.
Okay, we'll move on to gifts, grants, and, actually, no, we didn't approve that, did we?
Not yet.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, gifts, grants, and donations.
I'm moved to, well, are we on to G2A? I have a special connection with this one, so.
Yeah, would you like to make the motion?
I move to accept the donation from Teresa Rougeau to Catalino Library with deep, deep gratitude.
Yes, and we've been asked to actually recognize the donation as from Teresa Sotelo. That's her formal name.
Okay, I apologize. I move to approve and accept with gratitude the donation from Teresa Sotelo to Catalino Library.
Second it.
All right, any discussion?
I just want to say thank you so much to this family. I'm probably going to choke up because my daughter's in the class with
Would you like me to give
Gemma.
a little background?
Excuse me?
Would you like to give me a little background to the community who doesn't?
I'm sorry. Sure.
Okay, so,
yeah. The board. Well, I could just read it. Do you want me to read it?
that'd be great.
Okay. The board is asked to approve the donation of $3,000 from Teresa Sotelo to Catalino Library to purchase hardcover library-bound books for student use. Teresa is the mother of former CUSD student Mark Meza, who was tragically killed in the Borderline shooting in Thousand Oaks in November. Each book will have a book plate dedicated to Mark, and a plaque in his name will be posted on the exterior of the library. My daughter is in the same class as Mark's little sister, who's 7, and who's in the DLI program and at Catalino. So I just want to send a deep, deep, offering of gratitude and a kind of a cosmic hug to that family, if possible.
Yeah, and we'll remember Mark for a long time with his name in all those books. Mm-hmm. So that was a very generous donation. Thank you, Terry. All those in favor of accepting? Aye.
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 All right. Okay, we'll move on to item G3, low performing school block grant spending plan. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
I just had a few questions about this. Is there going to be any sort of a presentation on it, or we're just?
Sure. This year we were allocated $994,849 for focusing particularly on our students who are not performing at grade level, and it needed to be related to our LCAP goals and activities. So we researched our activities, and we are spending the money on particular intervention process. So teachers have asked for tools that help them monitor the progress of ELL students as well as low-performing students. They also wanted some additional formative and interim assessment tools, and they wanted some intervention software. So that's what as well as professional development. So those are the 3 areas that we are spending the money to support, is tools for teachers to monitor progress, student progress, particularly underperforming students. Secondly, to provide support with intervention software. And thirdly, to provide professional development for teachers to increase their skills in working with low-performing students. And
what is it that triggered this grant? Because because I believe this is a new grant, a grant this year. Is that correct?
Yes, from the state.
So what qualified the district for this?
All districts received some grant funding, and it was based on the number of students or percentage of students that were not performing at grade level on CASD. So every district received some amount. It's not atypical for the State Department to fund one-time only monies or grant monies, and they don't inform districts, and we all were surprised in September we received it, but we were pleased.
Well, I think the good news is that the state has allocated funds for improvements, so that's really good news. I think the part that feels disappointing is that we've qualified due to our percentage of low-performing students. So,
excuse me, I'm sorry if I misstated that. All districts received the money. It's not a qualification. All districts received the money, but the money was based on the percentage of students not performing.
The title of the grant is a little misleading in that all districts in the state are receiving money from this. So it's not just that Carpinteria has been, singled out as a low-performing district.
Right.
All districts have got low-performing students, and all districts are receiving grant funds from this, from the state for this particular grant. It's just that they titled it. I don't know why they titled it that way.
but they allocated the money based on the percentage of students not achieving at a certain point.
Yes.
Right. So what was our percentage?
Well, right now we have less than 50% of our students are at grade level, according to the CAS.
So, and then just last, I was a little surprised for such a large amount for $94,000. Normally for a grant proposal, or there would be some understanding of how the money's getting spent, because as a board, we're approving this grant with the hopes that, I guess it's the hopes that will bring the achievement up with these measures.
We approved the LCAP, and this money was really to support districts' efforts towards their LCAP goals and activities. So that is why this has to be, the requirement for spending this money according to the state, it has to be directly aligned with your LCAP activities. So it's I think it's misrepresented that you develop a separate plan, because that's not what is accepted, is what's not required. You really are not developing a separate plan for this money. What you're doing is you're pointing out what in the LCAP that you've already planned for that this money would support.
Mm-hmm.
So this is directly related to your LCAP. You cannot devise a different plan that is not already identified in your LCAP. These particular activities have already been identified in our LCAP.
And then just funding wise, it doesn't, but do the grant monies go into the general fund?
No, absolutely not. These are restricted monies, and they must be spent in a particular way. It must be aligned with your LCAP, and you have to monitor the progress of your students that you've identified in the LCAP.
Great.
Great.
Any further questions?
I just am a really big believer in transparency, in showing how funds are being spent exactly as much as we possibly can, which, that's just a piece that I'm always going to be interested in. And the second piece is just because these monies are focused on our lowest performing students, to me, I would have really liked to have seen evidence-based research that these things that we've chosen to spend them on are the best bang for our buck. And now hearing you, I hear that you're saying that we had to kind of go for things that were already set aside. So, but that is my priority, is evidence-based, targeted research strategies to improve
Absolutely.
Achievement.
Absolutely, and in our LCAP, that's what we've included. It is very clear in educational research that the most significant support you can provide or investment is in your teachers and the teachers' instructional skills. And that's why professional development is so critical to support our teachers in improving their instructional skills. So that's why we've allocated a significant amount for that professional development. In addition, it is very clear in the research that for students who are underperforming, you need to provide direct, targeted intervention. And that's why included in this grant is intervention software that is targeting reading and math specific skills that teachers have asked us to provide to support them. So the way we're spending our money is based on what teachers and departments and grade level chairs have recommended in terms of helping our underperforming students. And that was, you saw that in their school improvement plans that are part of the LCAP. And then this funding is going to support some of those LCAP activities.
Thank you.
So the way I see it is that this grant, it says it right here, is that the purpose of this grant is to accelerate increases in academic achievements.
That's the focus.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's why we're expecting that more than 50% of our students will function at and above grade level. That's our specific goal. So our activities are aligned to that precise goal.
And when will we have some understanding of whether these strategies, I mean, how are these strategies being attached to these outcomes? When will those results be available?
Well, they will be available after our assessments in May and June. We'll have our assessments and then we'll look at the assessment data.
So that information won't be available until fall.
We won't see that until the fall.
We won't see the actual fall.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the block grant? Say
Aye.
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 All right. Move on to the our continuing budget study session. And I think Maureen is on for this one.
Is there a chance to take a brief recess?
Yeah. We 5 minutes? Sure. Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes.
There's the bathroom.
I don't know if it's open anymore. Okay, we're back, and we'll start with the budget study session.
Okay, so we're going to continue our budget conversation, and you have the full packet in front of you. I'm not going to go over the full packet again. I'm going to fast forward to page 24. Take me a minute. There we go. So, one too many. So I'm going to review the reductions. Since the last board meeting, we brought this back to leadership. We met as a leadership team. The site principals brought this back to their staffs. We had some input on different suggestions for reductions. So this time this packet, we are coming with some additional recommendations, and I'll get to those at the end. But I'm going to go through all of the reduction recommendations again, just to kind of refresh where we are. This is the first page on 24, 1 through 7 have not changed. We're reducing or recommending reduction of $215,000 in curriculum adoptions. We adopted 2 curriculum this year. We're going to adopt 1 next. So this is a savings for next year. We are not filling a teacher through retirement attrition. We are also not filling a classified staff through a retirement attrition. We are recommending reduction of a 0.51 FTE custodian at the middle school. That will leave them with 2 full-time custodians, which is, for their size of school, adequate. On number 5, we're recommending a 0.3175 reduction of a tech support specialist. This is the only position of its kind in the district, and this is duplicative of the library media tech. Additional 1 period section that's been added to an existing position for independent study that we will not need next year, so that's an automatic reduction. And then number 7, we're recommending, and this is different from the previous version, we're recommending an athletic reduction of $20,000, not $40,000. On page 25, number 8, we are recommending a reduction in classroom aides for a total of 4.969 FTE. That is reducing classroom aides, leaving aides in kindergarten, TK, and combo classes. So these are the upper grades. And just for information on the aides, right now we have a total of 17.125 aides serving out of the general fund, and that's about 26 people. So you can see there's different FTE involved. This is a reduction of 4.969 of that 17. Number 9, $75,000 in curriculum field trips. Number 10, reduction in bus driver equivalent to 1 FTE. This is not removing a bus driver. This is reducing our bus drivers from 8 to 6 hours, and that's equivalent to a 1 FTE. Number 11, a reduction of 50% of the library media technician at the high school. This would reduce the hours the library would be open. Number 12, 12, 13, and 14 are new recommendations, so I'll spend a little more time on these. Number 12 is a reduction of 1 FTE custodian. As a result of this reduction, Canalino and Carp High would share a full FTE and alternate night custodian services every other. So it would ultimately end up in a 1 FTE reduction, and they would have they don't only have 1 night custodian, they have 2 night custodians at each campus. This would say that on every other night they would have 2 on each campus. The alternating nights they would have 1 on each campus, 1 FTE. And again, so 12, 13, and 14 are a result of what else is there possibly to cut, as far away from the classroom as we can get. Number 13 is a .375 FTE custodian. This is a 3-hour custodian that serves 2 hours at Summerlin, 1 hour at the district office. We feel that the Summerlin 2 hours can be absorbed by the Aliso custodial staff, and the district office will serve their own needs, which we pretty much do already. And number 14 is a reduction of 1 FTE classified secretary, classified staff at the high school. Currently, they have 4 FTE for 611 students. We've talked about the high school declining over the past several years, and they have not had a reduction in staff. We feel that the registrar and attendance duties, which are served by 2 people, can be done in the same person. So those additional reductions, those 3, coupled with the previous recommendations, is a total of $1.116 million. On the next page, page 26, this is where we've applied that $1.1 million into our actual budget projections. So 18-19, unrestricted first interim, 21.8. We already went over our drivers, 589,000. We're reducing by the 1.116 that we just covered in those last 2 pages for a total unrestricted expenditures of 21.3, a 2.41% reduction over prior year. Remember that for 1920, nothing is built into this budget for any salary increases. Page 27, what it does to our ending balance. Ultimately, we have now reduced our budget to the extent that we have a surplus of $214,137 for a total reserve of 6.74 in the 1920 year. I'm going to switch then to the very last page, which is scenario 6. This is the new scenario option, and it's dated scenario 6, reduction option 1 through 13 at today. And what this does is puts the current year at a 6.74% reserve, the second year at a 9.65%, and the third year at a 14.55% reserve. Now, this is the last page of your presentation, section GE on page 33. So this is the result of $1.1 million in reductions. And this is the staff's recommendation at this point. And remember that it is the intent that we go into negotiations knowing we're going to have additional salary increases. And we do believe that this provides us some leverage to be able to provide that and still maintain a healthy 3% reserve and higher.
3% is not healthy.
Well, the required 3%, as close to the 10 as we can get over the 3 years.
Well, I can reiterate again that when Jamie and I went down to San Diego to the school board training, they stated quite categorically that the smaller the district, the larger the reserve needs to be.
Right. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. I will say, though, that I will not have any updated property tax information for the current year until late April and ultimately the end of June, early July. And that's very late in the game for me to be able to really understand what next year will look like, because the county treasurer does not give us projections for the following year. It's really on us to do those, and we've gone over the projections for the property taxes. It's very possible current year revenues can change, current year property taxes can change. State revenues have, in general, overall, stayed very flat to projected. While personal income tax has dropped significantly, other income at the state has kind of leveled that out. So at this point, I'm not looking at any additional hopeful one-time money in the current year, and the governor did not provide any one-time money for future year.
Great. Any questions, comments?
Are we going to have a discussion among us after
Yeah.
this? Oh,
Well, no, I mean, that's what we're doing now.
oh,
If you have
yes.
something you'd like to ask or comment you'd like to make?
Yes. Let me go back to page 24 and 25. All right, so number one is I'm okay with that. Number two, now it's known that it's Casey Roberts who's retiring, and he currently teaches five courses. Two of them are economic courses. Three of them are the U.S. history government courses. That's five courses total. Now, the high school has, when he retires, that will leave the high school with one full-time history teacher,
No.
No.
correct?
No.
Well, who's plus four part-time teachers, correct?
No.
Then,
Correct.
what is it?
What is,
Yeah.
right now, there's more than 4 teachers that are credentialed for social studies. So it will depend on 9th grade and 10th grade course choices, and then we will assign staff. So the courses will still be taught. What the change will be is that right now, the class sizes ranges from 13 to 31 with an average class size of 25. So what this reduction will cause is the class size will increase for social studies from 25 to 30. The classes will still be taught. They will be taught by a credentialed social studies teacher. However, the class sizes will be larger.
Well, are those part-time teachers?
No, they are
they're
not.
Well, I'd see a problem there, with the class size.
Yes, the class size will increase from 25 to 30. That is correct.
The question I have is that
For social studies.
correct. Wouldn't that kind of lower the student achievement being part of a larger class, student-wise?
Well, the choices you have to make is, do you increase class size at elementary, middle school, or high school? And the prudent decision is to focus on smaller class sizes in the younger grades, and then it's very typical that average class sizes in high school are going to be larger. If we had adequate funding, of course we'd want class sizes to remain in social studies at 25. But in thinking about student achievement, if we were to increase first and second grade classes to 30 versus increasing a social studies or economics class to 30, the choice would be high school, not elementary.
Well, I'm just confused because there's nothing to do with increasing class sizes for elementaries on here.
No.
So it's not a choice being presented to us right now.
This is the high school.
Yes.
Only the high school.
Yes, and I'm making the example because the only choices we have at this point is to reduce staffing. We have 86% of our budget is staffing. Last year, we reduced $743,000. So now what's remaining in our $21 million unrestricted budget
are positions. And the point that I'm making is that this represents a value, that we value small class size more at the elementary level than we do at the high school. If we had adequate funding, we certainly would want small class size K-12. But at this time, we don't have that for Carpinteria, so we have to make some really challenging choices, and this reflects the choices that we're making. In addition, we're not having to riff a teacher because this is a retirement. So we are taking advantage of an attrition.
The only question that I have is that if we are not going to be hunted, let's say a year, 2, 3 years from now, because of not adding another teacher.
The benefit, I mean, not the benefit.
I mean, because it's a high school.
But Rogelio, we have the option if we can get our budget healthy, you know, to where we have reserves and if our revenues increase, you know, say our projections come in a little higher, it gives us that cushion. So then maybe we can add some staffing, or we can add some more counselors at the elementary, or we can. There's lots of things we can do, but you need to have a cushion. If you're right on the cusp every year, the less we cut this year, the more we're going to have to cut next year. Because our projections, our budget projections, are not. I mean, they're improving, but we're not anywhere near where we should be as far as reserves go.
This is how I see it. This is how I think actually, this is what I heard.
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
Though? So last year, we cut approximately $750,000, and that was difficult. It was a difficult decision. It's always a difficult decision when we're faced with cutting staff, and there was reluctance to do that by on behalf of some board members. But had we not cut that $750,000 last year, we would be essentially forced into cutting about $1.2 million to $1.5 million this year. So that the longer you kick that can down the road, the more painful it becomes when you ultimately have to make that. I mean, you have to make those hard decisions, and I think our staff has done a really comprehensive job here of identifying where we value smaller class sizes more, being elementary school, and where the impact of larger class sizes is going to be less felt, which is at the high school level. Because there's plenty of classes at the high school that are, you know, there's less than 20 students in a class. So the average class size now in the social studies, by Mrs. Rigby's figures, are going to go from 25 to 30 students per class. But some of those classes are going to still be at 20 or 18. Some of them might be at 32 or 34. But I would much rather do that and not have to lay somebody off. The benefit of this is there's a retirement. We're not laying anybody off. So I'd rather do this than cut an elementary teacher and increase elementary class sizes to 30. That you know, that doesn't fit with our goals as a board.
Yeah. I understand that, and yes, in a way you're right. But this is what I heard through Maureen's presentation. Salary increases creates and or causes additional cuts, and that's a recurrent problem that we have had for I don't know how many years.
But
you know what I mean?
But you understand why though, right? I mean, we have so I mean we've gone over this before. So we have an increase in our health insurance every year that we're obligated to pay of about $150,000 more or less. For the increase? Yeah, about that. Every year, $150,000 more expenditure on health insurance. We're spending from 2013 to 2020 in that period of time, our expenditures on retirement benefits for CalPERS or pension benefits for CalPERS and CalSTRS is increasing. We're spending $1 million more in 2020 than we were spending in 2012. And we didn't plan. You can't plan for that because the state comes in and says, we're going to we need to make up the deficit in CalPERS and CalSTRS, and so you have to pitch in more. So that's why our revenues aren't keeping up with our expenditures, because of these obligatory costs that we don't really have control over at this point. I mean, I agree with you that we need to get control over our healthcare costs because it's not sustainable. We can't. There's not much we can do about the pension contributions because it's out of our control. But
it is what it is.
The good thing is our revenues are increasing at a higher pace than the state guaranteed revenues. So we're in much better shape being a basic aid district like we are than if we were an ADA or an LCFF district. So that's good news. And we got lots of good programs going on. We have great teachers. So none of this is never a comfortable decision. It's never fun to make budget cuts.
No, but it's a fact that teachers actually deserve cost of living.
No,
Correct.
we're not arguing that, and we're accounting for that in
the decent salary.
In the staff recommendations, they've taken that into account, and that's why they've recommended that we look at about $1.1 million in reductions, so that we do have some money there to give a COLA.
And I think that taking all of this together, as all of this paperwork, all of these options as one, is that one would be like, for example, like through an effort of all of us, like let's see where we can spend less every year, every school year. Okay, like for example, I see the agenda, and there's a software that the district has to buy, or any other expense. Do we really need that, or can that wait for the following year or so?
That's not unrestricted, though. The software
are not unrestricted. They're not in the budget.
Or whatever.
That's
on the
Measure
budget.
U.
Speaking of H2, that's
Measure U
expenditure.
Right. And the other software is a grant.
There's actually grant money that comes with
right.
that.
Or anything that fits into the budget. I think that all of us as a whole should take a good look at it and see where we can find expenses that can be avoided, or if not avoided, reduce them, so that month after month, year after year, we have that way we can have a healthier budget.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Over the past 2 years since I've been here, we have scaled budgets down to the minimum every year in order to save money. And the majority of our money is spent on staffing and instructional learning tools, including curriculum. We have less than 1% of our budget, a fraction of a percent of our budget, spent on discretionary spending. So even if we cut that, we couldn't even get $500,000. And that would be nothing, zero. So our problem is not that we're spending outside of our means, it's imbalanced. Our staffing and benefit costs have outweighed now in proportionality at a sustainable level our total spending budget.
So we've been cutting since 2010. There hasn't been a single year where we haven't had to cut on the budget. Some years have been bigger than others, and and I don't think you're implying this, but some do imply that there's waste. And if you look at these departments, look at the grounds department. The grounds department runs on 3 or 4 people for a district our size. That's small. The custodial budget is small. The maintenance budget is small. I mean, every one of these departments is cut down to pretty close to the bare minimum. And I have confidence that staff looks at all of this. I know they do, and they're the experts. It's not our job to sit up here and micromanage and tell them other things they should. I mean, if we catch something, sure, but
I think that's why we need to think not only inside the box but outside the box as well.
Well, there's plenty of places to get money that will help support programs, and I'm hopeful that those come around again at some point.
Okay. Okay, so that was number 2. Let's go to number 4. Custodian, and it's number 4.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean if we're going to laboriously go down each one of these cuts, I think what we really need to kind of come to agreement on is what number do you feel comfortable with at the end of the day, as far as a bottom line and a reserve. I mean, all of us, not just you, but all of us. What number are we comfortable with? Do we want to just be the bare minimum?
Well, that was my first choice.
The bare minimum?
The bare minimum. That.
But you know what that does
yeah,
next year?
I know.
Yeah.
I understand. And for example, number 4, issue number 4, custodians, that's related to also number 11, 13, and that's cutting almost, let's see, it's 1.88, almost to 1.885 custodians cut on all school sites, and I think that that's it shouldn't be that way because as it is, it's just right that the custodians that we have, and if we pressure them to keep functioning, that okay, you keep doing the same job, keep maintaining what you do with less personnel. I think it's going to be harder down the road. That's how I see it.
It's harder for everybody.
Yes.
These cuts. Everybody is affected with these reductions, and we all recognize that. That's why it's so challenging. We recognize that. But if we don't make these reductions, where else are we going to cut $1.1 million? Where else?
So this is a long process. There's a lot of parents out in the audience tonight. I'm sure many folks listening at home. The budget process is a long process, and this is the perfect piece to get parent feedback on.
Input. Yeah.
So there are 4 options in this budget packet, and then there's a list of 13 different options, which we are actively weighing which ones to look at. We can do some of them. We can do all of them. Realistically, we can't do none of them. So I am very, very interested in hearing from all of you about what cuts make sense to you. What cuts, from your point of view, would be most effective and least harmful and most beneficial to academic achievement?
For example, there's bus drivers, 6 hours, reduce bus, item number 10, reduce bus drivers to 6 hours a day. This is what I say is that, for example, a bus driver, morning shift, off probably at 9. He's got probably 4 hours and then come back doing. So from a full time, that bus driver is going to be a part-time employee. I don't think that we're going to get the same dedication, professionalism, work with someone working as a full-time. I would call it loyalty. Someone, a bus driver working 8 hours, and now working 6. That means that he cannot then go and get another job because he's off, let's say, 9 or 10. He has to come back, let's say, at 2. So what can he do? And most of these bus drivers, they don't live in town. So they live in Santa Barbara, they live in Ventura, they have to come back. And meaning that 6 working, that they could find another job, a full-time job anywhere else. And so basically, what I'm saying is that someone who's working 6 hours or less, no benefits, correct?
No, they have benefits.
They do.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. But it's that part-time situation where I could see that maybe will actually it will force me to look for a job somewhere else.
Comments?
Well, I do agree with Rogelio on that statement as far as the caliber of the person we can get it for part-time, and I did speak to you a little bit about that. Do you want to, sounds like it's fairly standard in districts for them to do a 6-hour. I know a different district that they do that. I spoke to them about it, and they're able to find the proper bus drivers. But have you talked to our staff yet to find out if people are going to leave or stay, or how are you feeling about that?
Well, I think that it's common in California school districts that most bus drivers work split shifts because you're not driving buses after school starts, which in our district is 8:30, right? And then we do have special ed runs, so for those bus drivers, that may not be a split shift, but we need to have much more flexibility. A number of districts have 6-hour bus drivers, and then they hire them additionally to serve as playground supervisors. So the individual does have an 8-hour job. It's just it's 2 different jobs in the school district. So there's all different options. The way that
6 would be allocated to transportation.
Yes, 6 is allocated to the bus drivers, and 2 is allocated. So it is 8-hour positions. So, but most bus drivers in California in school districts have 6-hour bus driver positions. It's very unusual to have 8 hours.
How do they account for like special field trips or something like that? They just work extra that day?
Yes,
or?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Anything? All right. So staff's looking for direction on this. So do we have consensus, or is there agreement on scenario 6, the staff recommendation?
Actually, I have another question. I think that what's coming up, it's a resolution, right?
So this is I'll just update the process and
Yes.
kind of what we're asking of the board tonight.
Yeah.
We will need to bring a resolution to you on the April 9th board meeting. There's only one meeting in March, so we won't be able to bring it to the March 12th. It'll go to the April 9th. What you give us direction to do tonight, we will follow up with those resolutions on the April 9th board meeting.
Another question that I have is that, for example, again, going back to page 25, number 8, classified stuff, 5/8 being cut.
It's 5
correct.
Full-time equivalents.
Correct. 266,000, and all of these are employees, classified staff. Remember, last board meeting, asking the same question that I asked a year ago or so. Back then, it was on March. As the school district actually consulted with the union leadership about layoffs.
Yes. So as I explained last board meeting, the process is we make the recommendation, the board votes on it, we bring a resolution, you vote on that resolution, and once the resolution is voted on by the board, then we will meet with the union leadership. That's the process that's laid out for California school districts.
Remember asking you last time.
However, all staff
are
aware of this information because they've been discussing it at their school site staff.
No, okay.
Yes.
But I'm talking specifically about union leadership.
Yes, and I explained the process last board meeting.
So the process, according to you, is that?
No, it's according to the state. It's not according to Mrs. Rigby.
Okay, but Ms. Diana, on behalf of the state, correct? Or that's all right. So let's say
I'm explaining it.
I've explained the process,
yes.
and
yes.
according to the state,
yes,
the union gets consulted.
No, that's not what I said. What I said is the board votes on the budget reductions, and then we bring a resolution based on those reductions, in which the board will vote on, and then we will negotiate with the union the impacts of that board vote. So that's the process.
Let me tell you this. My common sense, I'm not talking about anybody else's common sense. My common sense is that the district leadership, union leadership should work together before and during the fact. That's my common sense. That's my common sense.
No, I understand that.
It's not yours or anybody else's.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's how I see it. I mean,
I understand that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to reflect back that what I'm hearing from Jamie and Roger both are the very challenging piece of trying to parse out the real world consequences of the decisions that we make. That these are numbers on a piece of paper to us, and in larger Carpinteria, they're people, and these are their livelihoods. So I'm very aware of that, and
Maureen, I think we're all aware of that, and it's somewhat insulting for you to imply that some of us are not aware of that. Some of us have been doing this for a long time, and every year we have to make cuts. It's not fun, and they always have impacts on people. Okay, so we don't need to get lectured about how much more empathetic you are than the rest of us.
No, I understand that. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think that the goal of union leadership, the goal of the district, and the goal of the board is student achievement.
And fiscal sustainability.
But,
yes.
But the number one priority should be student achievement.
However, we need to have a budget and funds to support that student achievement. So that's why we've come to you after doing extensive discussions, analysis, and this is the second year that we've been through this process with the leadership team. And we're at the point now where it's extremely challenging because we have already reduced our operating budget $700,000 last year, and now we're at the point where we have to look at positions because our trajectory of costs of personnel is much steeper than what our revenues are. And we're at a crossroads. So we have to make some hard decisions about what positions we're reducing to continue. And yes, we want to continue to support student achievement, but we cannot continue with a budget that doesn't have the at least the 3% reserves. The state will come in and take us over. But
just to move us forward, I actually think we already are all five in agreement about a minimum budget that gets us to the 3% reserve. And I mentioned this last time.
That's not what we're looking at, though.
Okay, but I'm just saying
I want more than 3%.
the part of negotiation is moving everybody closer to the middle. So we have some extremes right now, and the goal, hopefully, is to move us all to the center to agree on something. So what I'm saying is the good news is we can take that real low ball estimate off the table. It doesn't even need to be in the future. And that's a good sign because it means that we're moving closer towards agreement and towards the middle. That $215,000 cut, option one, that I believe we all agree on, takes us above the $185,000 reduction, which gets us past scenario 2. So we can take, scenario 3 can just be taken off the table. And that's great.
Okay, so
so
the kick the can scenario is gone. That's the way I see that. We have to make significant cuts, and so I don't see us any closer to agreement on anything here.
Yeah.
I think that our goal should be to improve student achievement because
Rogelio,
that achievement that has been on the red for years. It doesn't matter. Reductions haven't helped at all. Well, the facts are there.
Reductions are not going to help student achievement. If we don't reduce our budget, then the student achievement is not going to do very well at all because we're not going to have the money to pay anything, and we won't be here to make decisions. I think that needs to be really clear. If we don't make significant cuts to our budget and can assure that we have sustainability, then the rest of it doesn't really matter, Rogelio.
But I think that I've been on the board 2 years, but prior year I've been hearing that we need to make cuts, and I remember was campaigning, and I even made a public comment when I heard a report about low student achievements. So I said, well, I think that those scores are low on math. on English language, and that was 2016, and we are 2019, and it's the same situation. And if we don't get some other options next year, 2020, 2021, 2022, we'll be facing the same situation that we are facing right now. That's
Can I just say that historically, budget cuts are supposed to be as far away from the classroom as possible, and basically every one of these is far from the classroom. Are they going to affect the classrooms? Sure, but I think I commend Assistant Superintendent Fitzgerald, Superintendent Rigby, and her leadership team for providing us with all these different scenarios. And there's no teachers on here that are being cut. Yes, it's difficult. Budget cuts are difficult, very difficult. But they have to be made in order to balance the budget, in order to have a good reserve.
Okay, so let's move this along. So staff has recommended that we adopt scenario 6 with a reduction of approximately $1,100,000.
What page is that?
That's 33. Sally, are you in agreement with that?
Yes, I am.
Jamie, are you in agreement?
I am, yes.
I'm in agreement with that. Rogelio?
The first budget session, the goal was 846,000. Then it jumped to 940. Now it's jumping to $1,100,000.
I think that's great.
So that, in my opinion, it's not right.
Well, can I remind you that we've all had the opportunity to make recommendations and give input.
Correct.
Into scenarios.
Yes, correct.
And some of us have given direction to staff, and others haven't.
Correct.
And so the process needs to move along because it's based on a calendar. So none of it's fun. It's difficult. But would you say that you're in agreement with staff that we should look at approximately $1.1 million in reductions?
No. The very first budget session, I said it's scenario 3. That's total reductions to $195,000.
Is that what you're supporting?
Yes, that's what I'm supporting now. That's what I supported last board meeting. And
Maureen, which scenario would you support?
As I've said, we don't even need to look at scenario 3 because the option,
the
first,
supporting that one.
Okay. Option 1, the curriculum adoption is $215,000, and so that clears us of that hurdle. $185,000 is not on the table as far as I'm concerned. I am still interested in the other 3 scenarios. Rather than narrowing it down to one, I really appreciate the fact that the staff has done so much work to put in these options. I think it really helps us clarify the task at hand. And I'm still mulling some of these over. 3 of them were added tonight. And so I know that I'm fairly confident that we can find a solution in one of those those other options that were being presented for us, with knowing that we can move some of these around, and that's the beautiful thing about having options. So I will say, for me personally, The classroom aides, while it is a significant reduction, and that gets us closer to a bigger number, to me, again, classified aides, aides are a crucial part of the classroom experience for the elementary age, especially when they're just very hands-on. So I'm not saying that's completely off the table. However, I just that's a place that feels important to me.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think you have direction.
We have direction.
All right, thanks. Okay, so we'll move on to.
Sorry, we do have public comment on this item.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Just now.
All right.
Mr. J. Hochner.
Thank you. I appreciate your conversations today and appreciate the questions being asked. The union, and I'm here representing the union today. I'm Jay Hotchner. I'm the president of the Teachers Union and the Classified Employees Union. And listening to your conversations today, I just learned that the district, once again, for the second year in a row, has chosen to, one, dismiss a plethora of contractual obligations surrounding layoffs, and two, has chosen to claim that Ed Code designates the process that they would like to pursue. Last year, the district learned this to be incorrect and had to redo its entire layoff process because of errors in the same vein. What the superintendent failed to mention, Mr. Delgado, when she responded to your question and when she responded to the community, is that the district's option to pursue the path articulated in Ed Code is based on the answer to this question. Have the bargaining partners, being CAUSE, the union, and the district, bargained an otherwise legal process beyond those specified by Ed Code? In this case, the answer to that question is yes. The bargaining partners have bargained a legal process other than those specified by Ed Code. If such agreements have been made, and they have, the bargaining partners together are required to utilize the process as specified in the collective bargaining agreement beyond Ed Code. And how does the union know that these agreements have been made? Well, because we're in possession of the contracts, the collective bargaining agreements for both classified and certificated. Anybody here is welcome to go to the district website and look up the criteria and provisions related to the article on layoffs. We're also aware of this because I hold in my hand a settlement agreement from one of the last times the district charged down this avenue. And this agreement is actually signed by Ms. Rigby, so I'm fascinated as to how she is unaware of the details herein. But I will provide it to the school board and hope that this better informs you than the data and response that you received after Mr. Delgado's question. There are 7 provisions on the settlement agreement, again, signed by Ms. Fitzgerald, signed by Mr. Delgado, signed by Ms. Rigby, and signed by union leadership, that clarify exactly how the union and the district are to work together on these layoffs. And I suppose the last thing to say on my end is that the union looks forward to its opportunity to participate in an effective and structurally relevant manner as specified by the provisions in the collective bargaining agreement and the settlement agreement as we discuss layoffs moving forward. Thank you. And if you could please provide that to our school board. We need copies. I wasn't expecting that they would not be aware of it, so I only came with one.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to H, Measure U, and we're being asked to approve change order number 1 for modular classrooms at Carpinteria Middle School. I get a motion?
I move to approve change order number 1, modular classrooms at CMS.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item H2, network equipment purchases. Being asked to approve. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the network equipment purchase.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. We'll move on to I, personnel, and I1, personnel summary. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move to approve the personnel summary.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just wondering if the resignations affect any of the budgeting process, or if there are just ones that have to be replaced.
No, they do not affect the budgeting process.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the personnel summary? Aye.
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 All right. Move on to I2, Resolution 19839, a reduction or discontinuance of particular kind of certificated services. Can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Can I get a second? Anybody? I'll second that. Discussion?
Just wanted to hear a little more information on this.
Sure. We have a teacher who is teaching in CTE, Career Technical Exploration, and it's 2 periods of athletic trainer, and the enrollment is low, and so we will not be offering those 2 periods next year.
Okay. Any further discussion? This is a roll call.
Andy?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Rogelio?
Abstain.
Maureen?
Aye.
And I'm aye.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to board communications. Sally.
I again would just like to commend superintendent and the assistant superintendent and the leadership team for all the work that you have been doing on these budgets. It's not easy. I'm sure you spend a lot of your day doing this. None of it's easy, but it's very clear and understandable presentation, so thank you.
Jamie.
Just real quick, sorry, I'm a little under the weather tonight, so not feeling great, but I really appreciate the community coming out. I wish it was under different circumstances, and I encourage everybody to continue to come out and partake in the meetings. And if you do have an issue with one of the reductions we're proposing on the budget, come out and tell us why in the open communications, please.
Thanks. Rogelio.
Yes, same thing. These budget issues, we would like to hear from the community as well, so that your input would come to us, and then we can decide on it. And this is very, very important. The budget, it's only once a year, and you have the opportunity to have your voice heard. Another issue is that we have an agenda every 2 weeks, and I think that we should all have the opportunity to agree with it, support it, not agree with it, or abstain from it, from any issue. Meaning this, an approval is 100%. An A is that you oppose to that 100%. However, if it's in the middle of it, let's say that you have only information on that issue, 50%, that would leave you with a 50-50. And it's normal. It's written there. How many ayes? How many nays? How many board members abstain? It's normal. Samara School Board does it. Congress does it. Meaning that if you only approve that issue, an issue, only 50%, then you shouldn't approve it. Meaning, or you shouldn't actually oppose it either. It's meaning that you need more information on that. That's the right of everyone to do it. It's not that you're required to 100% approve it or 100% oppose it. No, it's not that way. Because there's always something that it's not clear to you. And that's when you think, well, it's not, I don't have the right to approve it, but however, I do not have the right to oppose it, so I respectfully abstain from it. And hopefully that another issue, last issue, is that we can work on the budget, get together to get the community involved, and actually we need to work together as a board. Yes, there's 5 of us, and we do not think alike. Our backgrounds are different, and this agenda might be 100% with some of us, 60% to the other ones, and that's why this is open to discussion. We all have the right to make a question, and that's why we ask questions on student achievement, on the budget, on layoffs, so that we can hear among ourselves and hear from you as well. And hopefully that we can do it. And I mean, we can do it if we give 100% each one of us. And I hope we do. Thank you all.
Thank you. Maureen.
I want to start by just taking a moment, just having some sad news this week, which is that Walter Johnson passed. And Walter Johnson, for those of you who didn't have the privilege of knowing him, was an incredible ag teacher at the high school for many years. He was also my neighbor and a mentor and a friend. So he casts a large shadow, and I hope that we can continue on in his legacy in the ag department. I also want to read a brief prepared statement that I brought with me. Over the last 2 years, at times I've spoken from a place of anger and resentment, and my words have hurt people. I am human, and humans are by their nature flawed. I have apologized whenever possible, in person. Moving forward, I will continue to stand up for increasing equity and student achievement for all students. I will keep urging CUSD for increased transparency in all operations, financial transactions, and activities. I will ask hard questions and seek deep truths. Tonight, I stand for ethics, for honesty, and for fairness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to also send our condolences to the Johnson family. Mr. J was a a rock in the community, a rock in agriculture. I think he taught at the district for 35 years, and I know at least 3 or 4 dozen of his students that have gone on to really productive careers in agriculture, and a number of them have gone on to be amazing agricultural teachers. And he's just the legacy he left was tremendous. There will be a memorial in the middle of March. I think there's more information coming. There's an obituary this week in the paper, and I'm sure there'll be notice for that. I'd also like to remind everyone about the Russell Cup coming up, and on behalf of the Russell Cup, the theater will be showing Chariots of Fire next Tuesday, the 5th of March, as a fundraiser. So I encourage anyone who has not seen that movie, or everyone who has seen that movie, to bring their kids and enjoy in a great movie. I think that's all my comments. We have a budget study session on the 19th of March.
No, we're going to replace it with
Oh, we are.
March 12th.
Okay, March 12th. We're going to have it the regular.
March 12th, we'll be discussing it during our board meeting.
Okay, and then we have a future item of our WASC report next in the next month or two.
Yes.
All right. Great. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Oh, sorry. No, we're not. Keep us on, Mark. O to O is 16th. Yeah. So anybody who did not sign up for O to O or knows people that aren't signed up, remind them. March 16th. All the money goes to benefit CARP students. Thank you.